I wished I had an appetite, because the Romans knew how to eat. Sets of couches and low tables were carted into forum until it resembled a furniture showroom. Romans lounged in groups of 10 or 20, talking and laughing, while wind spirits, R.A., swirled overhead, bringing an endless assortment of pizzas, sandwiches, chips, cold drinks, and fresh-baked cookies. Drifting through the crowd were purple ghosts, lairs, in togas and legionnaire armor. Around the edges of the feast, fawns, trotted from table to table, panhandling for food and spare change. In the nearby fields, the war elephant frolicked with Mrs. O'Leary, and children played tag around the statues of Terminus that lined the city limits. The whole scene was so familiar, yet so completely alien that it gave me vertigo. All I wanted to do was be with Percy, preferably alone. I knew I'd have to wait. If our quest was going to succeed, we needed these Romans, which meant getting to know them and building some goodwill. Reyna and a few of her officers, including the blonde kid Octavian, freshly back from burning a teddy bear for the gods, sat with me and my crew. Percy joined us with his 2 new friends, Hazel and Frank. As a tornado of food platters settled into the table, Percy leaned over and whispered,
"I want to show you New Rome, just you and me. The place is incredible."
I should have felt thrilled. Just you and me was exactly what I wanted. Instead, resentment swelled in my throat. How could Percy talk so enthusiastically about this place? What about Camp Half-Blood? Our camp. Our home. I try not to stare at the new marks on Percy's forearm. An SBQR tattoo like Jason's. At Camp Half-Blood, demigods got bead necklaces to commemorate years of training. Here, the Romans burned a tattoo into your flesh as if to say, you belong to us. Permanently. I swallowed back some biting comments. Okay. Sure.
I've been thinking, I had this idea.
He stopped as Reyna called a toast to friendship. After introductions all around, the Romans and my crew began exchanging stories. Jason explained how he had arrived at Camp Half-Blood without his memory, and how he'd gone on a quest with Piper and Leo to rescue the goddess Hera, or Juno, take your pick. She was equally annoying in Greek or Roman, from imprisonment at the Wolf House in Northern California.
Impossible. That's our most sacred place. If the giants had imprisoned a goddess there,
they would have destroyed her and blamed it on the Greeks and started a war between the camps. Now, be quiet and let Jason finish.
Octavian opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I really loved Piper's charm speak. I noticed Reyna looking back and forth between Jason and Piper, her brow creased, as if just beginning to realize the 2 of them were a couple.
So, that's how we found out about Earth Goddess Gia. She's still half asleep, but she's the one freeing the monsters from Tartarus and raising the giants. Porphyrion, the big leader dude we fought at the Wolf House, he said he was retreating to the ancient lands, Greece itself. He plans on awakening Gia and destroying the gods by... what did he call it? Pulling up their roots.
Gia's been busy over here too. We had our own encounter with Queen Dirtface.
Percy recounted his side of the story. He talked about waking up at the Wolf House with no memories except for one name, Annabeth. When I heard that, I had to try hard not to cry. Percy told us how he traveled to Alaska with Frank and Hazel, how they defeated the giant Alcanius, freed the death god Thanatos, and returned with the lost golden eagle, standard of the Roman camp, to repel an attack by the giant's army. When Percy had finished, Jason whistled appreciatively.
No wonder they made you
which means we now have 3 praetors. The rules clearly state we can only have...
On the bright side, both Jason and I outrank you, Octavian, so we can both tell you to shut up.
Octavian turned as purple as a Roman t-shirt. Jason gave Percy a fist bump. Even Reyna managed to smile, though her eyes were stormy.
We'll have to figure out the extra praetor problem later. Right now, we have more serious issues to deal with.
I'll step aside for Jason. It's no biggie.
No biggie? The praetorship of Rome is no...
You're Talia Grace's brother, huh? Wow, you guys look nothing alike.
Yeah, I noticed. Anyway, thanks for helping my camp while I was gone. You did an awesome.
Back at you.
I kicked his shin. I hated to interrupt a budding bromance, but Raina was right. They had some serious things to discuss. We should talk about the Great Prophecy. It sounds like the Romans are aware of it too.
We call it the Prophecy of Seven. Octavian, you have it committed to memory.
Of course, but
Recite it, please. In English, not Latin.
7 half-blood shall answer the call. To storm or fire, the world must.
An oath to keep with the final breath, and foes bear arms to the doors of death. Everyone stared at me, except for Leo, who had constructed a pinwheel of aluminum foil taco wrappers and was sticking it to passing wind spirits. I wasn't sure why I blurted out the lines of the prophecy. I just felt compelled. The big kid, Frank, sat forward, staring at me in fascination, as if I'd grown a third eye.
Is it true you're a child of Athena?
Yes, I said, suddenly feeling defensive. Why is that such a surprise?
If you're truly a child of the wisdom god.
Enough! Annabeth is what she says. She's here in peace. Besides, Percy has spoken highly of you.
The undertones in Raina's voice took me a moment to decipher. Percy looked down, suddenly interested in his cheeseburger. My face felt hot. Oh gods. Raina had tried to make a move on Percy. That explained the tinge of bitterness, maybe even envy in her words. Percy had turned her down for me. At that moment, I forgave my ridiculous boyfriend for everything he'd ever done wrong. I wanted to throw my arms around him, but I commanded myself to stay cool. Thanks. At any rate, some of the prophecy is becoming clear. Foes bearing arms to the doors of death. That means Romans and Greeks. We have to combine forces to find those doors. Hazel, the girl with the cavalry helmet and the long curly hair, picked up something next to her plate. It looked like a large ruby, but before I could be sure, Hazel slipped it into the pocket of her denim shirt.
My brother, Nico, went looking for the doors.
Wait, Nico D'Angelo? He's your brother? Hazel nodded as if this were obvious. A dozen more questions crowded into my head, but it was already spinning like Leo's pinwheel. I decided to let the matter go. Okay. You were saying?
He disappeared. I'm afraid. I'm not sure. But I think something's happened to him.
We'll look for him. We have to find the doors of death anyway. Thanatos told us we'd find both answers in Rome. Like, the original Rome. That's on the way to Greece, right?
Thanatos told you this? The death god? I'd met many gods. I'd even been to the underworld. But Percy's story about freeing the incarnation of death itself really creeped me out.
Now that death is free, monsters will disintegrate and return to Tartarus again like they used to. But as long as the doors of death are open, they'll just keep coming back.
Like water leaking through a dam.
Yeah, we've got a damn hole.
What?
Nothing. Inside joke. The point is, we'll have to find the doors and close them before we can head to Greece. It's the only way we'll stand a chance of defeating the giants and making sure they stay defeated.
You propose an expedition to Greece in your warship. You do realize that the ancient lands and the Mare Nostrum are dangerous.
Mary, who?
Mare Nostrum, our sea. It's what the ancient Romans called the Mediterranean.
The territory that was once the Roman Empire is not only the birthplace of the gods, it's also the ancestral home of the monsters, titans, and giants, and worse things. As dangerous as travel is here for demigods in America, there it would be 10 times worse.
You said Alaska would be bad. We survived that.
Percy, traveling in the Mediterranean is a different level of danger altogether. It's been off limits to Roman demigods for centuries. No hero in his right mind would go there.
Then we're good, because we're all crazy, right? Besides, the Argo 2 is a top-of-the-line warship. She'll get us through.
We'll have to hope. I don't know exactly what the giants are planning, but Gia is growing more conscious all the time. She's invading dreams, appearing in weird places, summoning more and more powerful monsters. We have to stop the giants before they can wake her up.
I shuddered. I'd had my own share of nightmares lately. 7 half-bloods must answer the call. It needs to be a mix from both of our camps. Jason, Piper, Leo, and me. That's 4.
And me, along with Hazel and Frank, that's 7.
What? We're just supposed to accept that? Without a vote in the Senate? Without a proper debate? Without...
Percy!
Tyson the Cyclops bounded toward us with Mrs. O'Leary at his heels. On the hellhound's back sat the skinniest harpy I'd ever seen, a sickly-looking girl with stringy red hair, a sackcloth dress, and red-feathered wings. I didn't know where the harpy had come from, but my heart warmed to see Tyson in his tattered flannel and denim with a backward SBQR banner across his chest. I'd had some pretty bad experience with Cyclopses, but Tyson was a sweetheart. He was also Percy's half-brother, long story, which made him almost like family. Tyson stopped by their couch and wrung his meaty hands. His big brown eye was full of concern.
Ella is scared.
No more boats. Titanic, Lusitania, Pax. Boats are not for harpies.
Did that chicken girl just compare my ship to the Titanic?
She's not a chicken. Ella's a harpy. She's just a little high-strung.
Ella is pretty and scared. We need to take her away, but she will not go on the ship.
No ships. Bad luck. There she is. Wisdom's daughter walks alone.
Ella, maybe it's not the best time.
The mark of Athena burns the realm. Twins snuff out the angel's breath, who holds the key to endless death. Giant's bang stands cold and pale, won through pain from a woman jail.
The effect was like someone dropping a flash grenade on the table. Everyone stared at the harpy. No one spoke. My heart was pounding. The mark of Athena. I resisted the urge to check my pocket, but I could feel the silver coin growing warmer. The cursed gift from my mother. Follow the mark of Athena. Avenge me. Around them the sounds of the feast continued, but muted and distant, as if their cluster of couches had slipped into a quieter dimension. Percy was the first to recover. He stood and took Tyson's arm.
I know. How about you take Ella and get some fresh air? You and Mrs. O'Leary.
Hold on. What was that she said?
Ella reads a lot. We found her at a library.
Yes! Probably just something she read in a book.
Books. Ella likes books.
Now that she said her piece, the harpy seemed more relaxed. She sat cross-legged on Mrs. O'Leary's back, preening her wings. I gave Percy a curious glance. Obviously, he, Frank, and Hazel were hiding something. Just as obviously, Ella had just recited a prophecy that concerned me. Percy's expression said, "Help."
That was a prophecy. It sounded like a prophecy.
No one answered. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, but I understood that Percy was on the verge of big trouble. I forced a laugh. Really, Octavian? Maybe harpies are different here on the Roman side. Ours just have enough intelligence to clean cabins and cook lunches. Do yours usually foretell the future? Do you consult them for your auguries? My words had the intended effect. The Roman officers laughed nervously. Some sized up Ella, and then looked at Octavian and snorted. The idea of a chicken lady issuing prophecies was apparently just as ridiculous to Romans as it was to Greeks.
That was a prophecy. It sounded like a prophecy.
She's just spouting lines from some book, like Hazel suggested. Besides, we already have a real prophecy to worry about. I turned to Tyson. Percy's right. Why don't you take Ella and Mrs. O'Leary and shadow travel somewhere for a while? Is Ella okay with that?
Large dogs are good. Ode Yeller, 1957. Screenplay by Fred Gibson and William Thunberg.
I wasn't sure how to take that answer, but Percy smiled like the problem was solved.
Great. We'll Iris message you guys when we're done and catch up with you later.
The Romans looked at Reyna, waiting for her ruling. I held my breath. Reyna had an excellent poker face. She studied Ella, but I couldn't guess what she was thinking.
Fine. Go. Well, Octavian is right about one thing. We must gain the Senate's approval before we let any of our legionnaires go on a quest, especially one as dangerous as you're suggesting.
This whole thing smells of treachery. That trireme is not...
It's a good idea. Octavian, go with him. See the ship. We'll convene a Senate meeting in 1 hour.
But... Fine.
Leo got up. He turned to me, and his smile changed. It happened so quickly I thought I'd imagined it, but just for a moment, someone else seemed to be standing in Leo's place, smiling coldly with a cruel light in his eyes. Then when I blinked, and Leo was just regular old Leo again, with his usual impish grin.
Back soon. This is going to be epic.
A horrible chill settled over me. As Leo and Octavian headed for the rope ladder, I thought about calling them back. But how could I explain that? Tell everyone I was going crazy, seeing things and feeling cold? The wind spirit started clearing the plates.
Reyna, if you don't mind, I'd like to show Piper around before the Senate meeting. She's never seen New Rome.
Reyna's expression hardened. I wondered how Jason could be so dense. Was it possible he really didn't understand how much Reyna liked him? It was obvious enough to me. Asking to show his new girlfriend around Reyna City was rubbing salt in a wound.
Of course.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to show Annabeth...
No.
Sorry?
I'd like a few words with Annabeth. Alone, if you don't mind, my fellow praetor.
Her tone made it clear she wasn't really asking for permission. The chill spread down my back. I wondered what Reyna was up to. Maybe the praetor didn't like the idea of 2 guys who had rejected her giving their girlfriends tours of their city. Or maybe there was something she wanted to say in private. Either way, I was reluctant to be alone and unarmed with the Roman leader.
Come, daughter of Athena. Walk with me.